Greetings and welcome to my introduction on professional associations. For those of you who are watching this online, this is a brief lecture that I'm recording for students of the Rehabilitation and Mental Health Counseling program at the University of South Florida. Specifically, there are two courses that I'm going to provide this recording to. One is the Rehabilitation Counseling Concepts and Apps class, and the other is Counseling in Community Settings. But for those of you online, generally speaking, these are all of the, or a lot of the major professional associations that will appeal to rehabilitation counselors and to clinical mental health counselors and marriage and family therapists. In our program, the Rehabilitation Mental Health Counseling program at USF, we actually have certificate programs and concentrations such that a student can become a rehabilitation counselor, which is a counselor who works with individuals with disabilities to help them to maximize their quality of life and their self-sufficiency, typically through vocation. Or clinical mental health counselors. We are a KCREP accredited clinical mental health counseling program. Or you can actually become a registered marriage and family therapy intern upon graduation from our program if you select the certificate program in marriage and family therapy. Or you can become a substance abuse counselor by electing our certificate program in substance abuse. So there are just so many different types of counselors who can come from our degree program. So in this presentation, I try to give an overview of a lot of the major associations that would appeal to counselors in any of those areas of specialization. So I like to start off by covering why I think it is so important that students get involved with professional associations. I think a lot of students think about professional associations as organizations that they should consider after they've graduated or after they've gotten licensed or certified. But I really disagree. I think it's very wise to get involved in professional associations while you are a student. And actually, in the Rehabilitation Counseling Concepts and Apps course here at USF, students are required to join a professional association. So this is it. This is your guide to which professional association might be the right fit for you as a student. So some of the reasons to get involved in professional association, first one is networking. You will learn very quickly in this field that there are a lot of advantages to knowing a lot of people. These other professionals will become resources for your clients. They'll become resources for you to learn more. And they will also become job leads for you as a student. And that's a big deal. When your resume or CV shows up on an employer's desk and they know you because of your involvement in professional associations, that's a big plus. But also, these professional associations will be a good resume enhancer for you. They really enhance your resume or CV. You know, if I was an employer and I was looking at two equally qualified candidates for an opening, but one of those candidates was active in professional associations and involved, that might set them ahead of the rest in my mind. So involvement in professional associations can benefit you in several ways. Professional advocacy, though, is a second benefit because there are often efforts made by other therapeutic professions to try and limit or restrict the activities of counselors. It's sad and it's unfortunate. I don't really understand why there's so much turf war, why there's so many turf wars that go on in our profession sometimes. And I don't think most people are into that. But what we do see in some states and in some areas is efforts from, I think, quite honestly, and it's nothing against psychologists, but a lot of times I see it from psychological associations where psychologists are trying to limit or restrict, for example, the ability of clinical mental health counselors to administer and interpret psychological tests or to conduct forensic evaluations. And I just don't understand why people would be interested in that. I'm a big fan of all licensed mental health professions having a place at the table and being able to practice their full scope of practice. And there's an awful lot that a clinical mental health counselor can do, and there's plenty of business to go around. So who advocates for counselors when there are efforts made to restrict their scope of practice or to deprive them of some of their domains and activities that they are well trained and suited for. It's your professional associations. They're the ones who will lobby. I'll give you a case example of this. Here in Florida, a few years back, there was a panel that was assembled by our licensure board, or not by our licensure board, but by our Department of Health. And this panel was tasked with providing assistance to a legislative committee that was creating a bill that deals with telehealth. And on this committee, they had psychiatrists and psychologists and social workers represented, but they didn't have any counselors represented. So our lobbying firm that's hired by the Florida Mental Health Counselors Association, which is Mixon and Associates, became aware of this activity and discovered that counselors were not being represented. So they did some advocacy for us, and then we had somebody from the Florida Mental Health Counselors Association that was added to that task force. So that way we can help make sure that counselors have a place at the table for any legislation that's drafted so that we aren't excluded from being a part of telehealth, whereas other mental health professionals would be included. So the money that you spend for your association fees goes to professional advocacy organizations that will advocate for your license or for your certification to continue to mean something and for you to be able to continue to practice the trade, the craft that you love so much and that's so meaningful to you. Third thing is that professional associations are a form of trade recognition. They're part of what keeps your profession viable and well recognized internationally. You also can get continuing education through your professional associations. Once you get licensed or certified, we are blessed to work in a profession where you never know everything. It's just never going to be possible. There is always so much that you can learn and so much new information to review. So we have to continue with our education once we're licensed, and to renew our license, there's at least a minimum requirement for continuing education, and I'm a big fan of going way above and beyond that minimum requirement. Your associations provide you with some great continuing education opportunities at very reduced rates, sometimes even free, as you'll learn as we go through some of the associations here. We already talked about resume enhancement, but also your associations are a resource for ethical guidelines and best practices. They draft ethical codes that you can use to help guide you in your practice. For example, the American Counseling Association has an ethics hotline that you can use to get a consultation on how to apply the ethical code to ethical dilemmas. So your associations help to keep you on track with what is acceptable practice in our profession. And then finally, you can get professional discounts. This includes discounts on malpractice insurance, on a website for your private practice, on auto insurance, on training, all kinds of things. So I have an Office Depot card that I got from the American Counseling Association, and I was able to, I was making tons of printed materials for a conference. Our original bill was $460 at Office Depot for this for these packets we were creating, and then I provide them my ACA discount card, and that knocked it down to about $130. That's a tremendous savings. So you get some really neat discounts by being involved in these associations as well. So I'm going to start with the first association, the American Counseling Association, because it is the largest national counseling association. Although it was founded in 1952, it also came from several associations that merged together long before 1952, or at least some of those associations existed long before 1952. They represent all types of counselors: school counselors, mental health counselors, career counselors. They kind of represent us all. And so they are the largest organization. A student membership for the national level American Counseling Association is $95 a year, at least last I checked. And the state chapter, which is the Florida Counseling Association, has a $30 fee. This, I think, this is one of the associations that I'm a member of, and for full disclosure, I'll let you know the associations that I'm a part of and why, but understand that I'm biased because I have my own areas of interest. And so I'll talk about that as we go through these slides. But I'm a member of ACA because I do get some really neat discounts. Originally, I got some great healthcare insurance discounts through ACA. And I get, like I said, the Office Depot discount way pays itself off. I mean, that's a tremendous benefit by itself. They have wonderful trainings. They've got a great publication called Counseling Today magazine that I really like to use to keep updated on things. They've got the Journal of Counseling and Development and several other journals. They have several subdivisions, like I'm also a member of their association for basically for LGBT issues in counseling. I forget the official name of it. And then I get access to journal articles in that area as well. But I think this is a great organization to join. It's not the only one that I'm a member of. And they have a lot of power in terms of advocacy because they're such a large organization. There is a video that I like to show when I cover this in person, but we often have times with audio from video going through on these recordings. So instead, I'm going to post that video on in Canvas for those of you who are my students. And for those of you watching this online, if you go to counseling.org, you can see that video or other videos about American Counseling Association. Or probably they have a YouTube channel as well. But I'm going to move on to the American Mental Health Counselors Association, or AAMCA, as I like to call it. And the American Mental Health Counselors Association is another one that I am a member of, and I'm a member of all three levels, meaning the national level, the state chapter, which is the Florida Mental Health Counselors Association, and the Tampa Bay area chapter, which is the Suncoast Mental Health Counselors Association. And I'll tell you why it is that I'm a member of this organization. It's because that's my primary professional identity as a clinical mental health counselor. I have had the fortune and opportunity to be able to train and get licensed and certified in several different areas of specialization, but primarily I'm most excited about being a clinical mental health counselor. So this is the largest national association that exclusively represents mental health counselors. And so it's very appealing to me. I love the Journal of Mental Health Counseling that AAMCA publishes. I feel at home with this organization. There are people who like the same stuff that I like. They were originally founded as a division of the American Counseling Association that we just talked about in 1976. One of their co-founders, by the way, James Messina, is local here in the Tampa Bay area and is a member of all three of the levels that I just provided you. Keep in mind that I live in the Tampa Bay area, so my national chapter is obviously the American Mental Health Counselors Association, but I'm in Florida, so then I've also joined the state level and then the local Tampa Bay area level, the Suncoast Mental Health Counselors Association. So why did I join these levels? First of all, for you as students, both the Tampa Bay Area Association, SAMCA, is free for the first year, and the state level association, FAMCA, is free for the first year. So I would recommend, if you are interested in clinical mental health counseling, then I strongly recommend that you join both the Tampa Bay Area and the state level association. Why? Because for the local level, the Suncoast Mental Health Counselors Association, this is where you get the most bang for your buck, so to speak, because you're interacting with professionals here in your local area and networking with them, so you're getting information about local resources and local job opportunities. But they also have a monthly meeting. It's the third Friday of every month, except for July and August. And you get a 3-hour continuing education event. It is free for students. Wonderful presenters on great clinical topics. So it's a good way to get into the local industry and also to get some good continuing education. But if you move up to the state level, they're so vital for advocating for the power of your license here in Florida as a licensed mental health counselor. You know, in some states, licensed counselors are LPCs, licensed professional counselors, or they might have other titles in some states, but in some states, it's a licensed mental health counselor. That's the way it is here in Florida. And the Florida Mental Health Counselors Association is the organization that would be advocating for your license here in this state So they're very important for that reason. You also get a free monthly webinar. And those webinars are recorded and posted on FOMCA's YouTube channel for all members to view. Those webinars are incredible. We have national presenters sometimes that come in and do these webinars. So it's just another great free benefit that you can get as a student of FOMCA. They have a wonderful annual conference. It's in Orlando this year. It usually is in Orlando, but they're going to be mixing it up in future years, I think. And that's a great opportunity to come and just immerse yourself in some of the new and emerging stuff in our trade. So I'm a member of ACA. Like I said, I'm also a member of the American Mental Health Counselors Association, and again, all three levels. Now, occasionally there are disagreements between some of these associations. So ACA, for example, sent a letter to the board in Florida encouraging the board to adopt the title LPC, Licensed Professional Counselor. But the American Mental Health Counselors Association actually disagrees. They want it to stay licensed mental health counselor or become licensed clinical mental health counselor to be consistent with CACREP verbiage for the mental health specialty. And the reasoning is that we want people to be able to see from our license what type of counselor we are. You know, you could be a licensed professional counselor and we don't really know, does that mean, are you a mental health professional or are you some other kind of professional? But in the title licensed mental health counselor, we know what type of counselor you are. We know what your specialty is. So that's an example of how sometimes there are some disagreements between our associations, even though most of the time they're on the same page about things. There, again, a video. This one is some benefits of joining the local Suncoast Mental Health Counselors Association, but I'll post that separately in Canvas for you. So now we move on to folks who are interested in marriage and family therapy. Although I am a licensed marriage and family therapist as well, I'm not a member of the American Association for Marriage and Family Therapy. For whatever reasons, I'm just not enthusiastic about it. But if you primarily are interested in marriage and family therapy, then I would recommend that you consider joining this association because it is the largest national association representing marriage and family therapists in the U.S. It was founded in 1942. The national student membership is $58. And when you join the national level and you automatically pay your division dues, which is only $9 to Florida, and then you are automatically a member of both the national, state, and local associations, which is kind of a neat benefit. They do have a really nice magazine that comes out every month, the AAMFT, and they recently renamed it, so I forgot what the new name is, but I've checked that magazine out, and I think it's pretty cool for people who are interested in marriage and family therapy. Now we'll move on to the National Rehabilitation Association, or the NRA, not to be confused with the National Rifle Association, the other NRA. But the NRA is the largest national association representing rehabilitation counselors, which again are counselors who work with individuals with disabilities to help them maximize their independence and quality of life with an emphasis on vocation. Most members of the NRA, in my experience, are going to be public vocational rehabilitation counselors working for the state, maybe. They were founded in 1923, so they've been around for a very long time. And the student membership is $48. They have the Journal of Rehabilitation Counseling, which I think is a good journal for people who are primarily interested in rehabilitation counseling. And when you join the national membership, you're entitled to membership in the state and local chapters. Here in the Tampa Bay area, your state chapter will be the Florida Rehabilitation Association, and your Tampa Bay area chapter is the Tampa Bay Florida Rehabilitation Association. You notice again, I forgot to point out earlier, but the websites to all of these organizations are on each of these slides. So if you are interested in rehabilitation counseling and specifically public rehabilitation counseling, I would recommend the NRA. But let's say that you're interested in private rehabilitation counseling. These are the rehabilitation counselors who are often going to be conducting vocational evaluations. They may be expert witnesses in disability cases, workers' compensation or injury cases. They may be vendors for public vocational rehabilitation programs. And they are the International Association for Rehabilitation Professionals, or IARP. The website is rehabpro.org. They were incorporated in 1981, and student membership is free, period. So so far of all the associations we've talked about, the only ones that are free for students are IARP, and the Florida Mental Health Counselors Association and the Suncoast Mental Health Counselors Association. So if you are interested in rehabilitation counseling and even more specifically private rehab counseling, perhaps with an emphasis on evaluation, then this would be a wonderful association for you to join, and I would recommend that you do so. You really have nothing to lose. It's a free student membership. It's a resume enhancer. I would encourage you to do so, and they do have some pretty neat conferences and training opportunities available here in Florida. So now we move on to NAADAC, the Association for Addiction Professionals. They used to be called the National Association of Alcohol and Drug Abuse Counselors, but they renamed themselves NAADAC, the Association for Addiction Professionals, to sort of illustrate that they're about all types of addictions. So for some people, gambling addictions, sexual addictions, and so forth have a place in this organization as well, even though you will see that the emphasis is probably on chemical addictions. This is another one that I'm a member of because that's a strong part of my professional identity as well. I'm a certified master's level addictions professional and an AAMFT diplomat in substance abuse and co-occurring disorders, and that's a big specialty area of mine. So this is one of the organizations that I'm a part of. They have free webinars that I really like. They have a publication called Addiction Professional that I really like as well. It's a good way to stay updated in the specialized field of substance abuse counseling. The student membership is only $32.50 a year. The Florida chapter is $25 a year. So I would recommend that if you are primarily interested in substance abuse counseling, that you consider this association. There is another association that I don't have a slide for. ASAM, the American Society of Addiction Medicine, is another option for people interested in substance abuse. They used to be only for physicians, but they have now opened a new level of membership that can include counselors and other types of substance abuse professionals as well. So that might be another one to consider. ASAM is a great organization because they publish the ASAM treatment guidelines. That's a whole other topic for a whole other course. But I love the ASAM treatment guidelines personally. You know, another option if you're interested in substance abuse is you can join divisions of other associations. The American Counseling Association has a division specific for people primarily interested in substance abuse counseling. So that would be another option for you. But this is, I think, a great organization, NAADAC. Again, there's another video, but you can go to NAADAC.org to view that video and get more information. And that really covers some of the major professional associations in our field. I'm hopeful that this gave you an overview of some of your options, explain the importance of professional association membership. Please, if you are a student, don't delay. Go ahead and join a professional association. I encourage it and use the benefits. Participate in the continuing education. Stay passionate and stay updated in your field. Network and take advantage of the resources that our associations have made available to you. If you have any questions, let's say you're viewing this online, you could email me. There is a USF email address, but I'll give you, for simplicity's sake, another email address that you can use. It's me, that's just M as in Mike, E as in Echo, me, at anorton.com, which is my first initial A for Aaron, and then my last name Norton, N as in November, ORTON. .com. So me at anorton.com, or you could visit anorton.com and contact me through that website. Thank you all very much, and let me know if you have any follow-up questions.